Today, I want to talk about the number one question I get from non-EV drivers. After the intro. So the number one question I get from non-EV drivers is, how far can you drive? So these days I usually say far enough or south of Spain or something similar, and they go like, but you have to refill or charge, right? And I say, of course. And they say, but how long does it take? And I say, well, it depends, between 20 minutes and 1 hour, depending on how far I need to drive on the next leg. So when you're switching from a car with an internal combustion engine to an EV, you need to start thinking a bit differently. When I was driving a nice car, I had to take a detour, a short one, but still a detour, and refuel 2 or 3 times every single week, because I was driving a lot. These days, when I drive an EV, every single morning, I have a fully charged battery, or in my case, I only charge to 90%. So that's the difference in how you need to think when you drive a car with an internal combustion engine compared to an EV. With a car with internal combustion engine, you need to make a detour and refuel every now and then. But with an EV, every single morning, your car is charged and ready to go. So instead of spending many hours just making detours and refueling my ICE car, these days I spend less than 1 hour every year to recharge my EV. And the reason for it is, when I open my door, leave my EV, I just grab the charge connector, insert it into the charge port, and I leave my car. And when I get to my car the next morning, I just unplug and put it back into the wall connector. So then many people say, but if you need to go very, very far, like for instance Spain or Stockholm or whatever, well, I need to stop more than the car does, because the family needs to have food, you need to stretch your legs, etc. So if we want to go on a long road trip, we usually make a charge stop and have something to eat at the same time. That way, we don't need to find something to eat and then, like an hour later or something, go and refuel the car. So we recharge while we're still doing things that we normally do on a road trip. So I think many people have trouble getting over the way you use an electric car. So I think many people still think that you drive around in your EV, and when you need to recharge, you recharge and you have to wait for 30 minutes or an hour. But that's not the case. In most of the cases, you charge overnight. So it's basically only on the road trips. And for me personally, that's not a problem, because we need to stop anyway to eat, for instance. Okay, so just say that I want to go from Gothenburg to Lisbon in a road trip. What I do is I enter Lisbon as the destination, and what happens is that the navigation software will calculate the route and all the charging stops on the way. So for instance, here we can see I need to stop in Löddeköpinge for 50 minutes, and what I can do, I can actually click here and I will see that they have a restaurant, they have restrooms, you can have a coffee, they have a shopping center or some shopping facilities, and Wi-Fi. I can even see how many stalls there are in this charging destination. And I can also see real-time data, how many are occupied at the moment. So that's really interesting. And this is also something that differs between Tesla and other manufacturers, because they have their supercharging network. If we scroll down here, you see all the charging stops, and you also see that you will have 10% battery left when reaching Lisbon. And it's a trip of 3,421 kilometers. So here you can see when it calculates the route, there is a massive amount of superchargers in all over Europe. Speaking of road trips, if you're interested in buying your own Tesla, use my referral link and you will get 6 months of free supercharging. That way you can go on road trips across Europe without paying anything for the electricity. Okay, so that's it for this time. See you in the next one.